Hello and welcome to the Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Honey Teller, along with our other co-host, Ernest Snooks, on a very cold and snowy Monday night here in Stephenville. How are you tonight, Ernest?
I am cold. I'm very, very cold. I mean, we went from a relatively mild weekend to -12 during the day, and that was not fun. I have to admit.
Yes, sir.
Um, but it was part and parcel with living in Newfoundland and Labrador. Still better than when we were up in Fort Mac.
Yeah, very much so.
Don't miss the -40 one bit. I'll say that much. Um, we're kind of doing the second kind of half of the regionalization plan,
Yes, sir.
and it makes even less sense than when I looked over it last week.
Right, and just like the
Uh,
weather, the report is very slippery.
oh goodness, yes it is. Yes it is. They talk about lots of local governance,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it's very confusing the way they discuss it, because I mean a couple of these problems were placed on them, through federal and provincial regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in terms of wastewater and effluents. Um, the, yes, the cat has something. Sorry for everyone. My cat has something to say about municipal regulations. As always, she is the unofficial third host of the show. But no, the thing about this is that if the federal and provincial government, were either more forthcoming with funding, or were not so strict on these regulations, we wouldn't really have this problem. Now, I'm not going to disagree that clean drinking water and safe kind of disposal of waste products is important. It's very important, but these municipalities, these small ones, they can't afford it. And as the rules change, and as stricter regulations come into place, that's a bigger cost. And that and so the government needs to be like, listen, as long as it's done in a reasonably safe and environmentally friendly way, as long as the water is decent to drink, then we can be a bit lenient on these restrictions. But the problem with the government is that they always have this one size fits all kind of legislation. They're not very, they're not. It's not varied. It's not diverse.
Right.
It's one thing for everyone. And this country is vast. This island, this province of ours, Labrador is different than Newfoundland. St. John's is different than Stephenville. Um, West Bay is different than St. Anthony. Everything is different, and legislation should reflect that differences. And that's probably a pain for the politicians, because that requires a lot more work than I'm sure they and the people who helped write this legislation are willing to do. But I mean, it's not really for their comfort. It's for the citizens of this province, and they they just keep making mistakes on this. Like this, I'm looking through it here. Like, let's see, the capacity to provide services, number two of the principles of local governance, on page 16 of the report. You know, actually, should we even go with? Well, I guess I kind of covered number one really
Mm-hmm.
in that kind of statement here. Um, and by the way, I actually just gotta kind of touch on that when they say, like, there's no reason to continue with this outdated approach. In modern Western democracies, all residents, no matter where they live, benefit from and have representation from some form of municipal government. Um, yes, but if people aren't willing to participate, then it's kind of difficult to have a democratically elected municipal government.
Mm-hmm.
So like something I was saying to you off air there is that maybe we should look at having someone administer these kind of areas until people decide that they want to try their hand at running for these council positions.
Right.
You know, that's not necessarily a bad idea because they still need to be run. And if either way, it's going to be from someone who's not in the community, really. If we really look at the way this is going to be shaped and formed, so if it's someone from a department, then it's might be tolerable, and even it might benefit because they have a direct link to the government. They might be able to implement policies that can grow these areas, that can bring better services into them, in collaboration with the local MHA or the local MP, and go from there. I mean, it's an idea, but is there anything you kind of want to say so far?
Well, to me, if you can't find enough people to run in your community, and you don't have the financial capacity to meet the rules and regulations to maintain a municipality, well, then the conversation needs to be had. Who's next door that does meet the requirements and can handle the capacity of a merger, or in this case, amalgamation? And we'll use the example of Stephenville and Kippens. Full disclosure, I hope Kippens figures out their issues, because Kippens is loaded with cash. They got cash in the bank.
Yep.
They've had a misery of a time administratively trying to follow rule and procedure of municipalities. And it's wreaked havoc for years and years and years. And for full disclosure, well, minus the sign, you have no idea whether you're in Kippens or Stephenville unless you see the sign. Because it's literally a bridge over a brook. The small is more like a stream.
I think you can jump over it, really.
Oh, most certainly. And it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I'm all for regional government, but with the elimination of certain municipalities. I don't think you can have a regional board in charge of municipalities. It hasn't worked for Western Waste Management. Sure, it's worked in some communities, but they didn't exempt anybody from it. So Stephenville was forced to sign on the dotted line when we could have supported our own garbage measures. And now we pay so much per ton that is un-fucking believable.
Yeah.
Kippens, yes, I get it. Port to Port, I get it. Stephenville Crossing, I get it. St. George's, I get it. But for Christ's sakes, either we hire more people as a municipality in Stephenville and have these people pay a service fee to us and make us the dominant one because we are the bigger one.
Yep.
Or you ask them if they want to join. Or they join each other. And you have Crossing in St. George's and Matters Point as a new municipality. But to add an extra fucking layer for no other good goddamn reason than you don't want to do the hard work makes no sense at all.
But this whole plan is kind of a cop-out from the provincial government. It's the provincial government kind of shifting a lot of responsibility onto another layer of government. It mostly shifting it onto municipalities. Now, a lot of the problems in this, I mean, we can go point by point, of course, but I mean, really, it just keeps repeating itself. The problems that are posed here can be solved by amending the Municipalities Act.
Right.
That should have been the start. It shouldn't be, well, everything is complicated. It's very difficult. This is a problem with the local service district. this is the problem with the UIAs, this is the problem with the municipalities. Let's just skip all of these possible fixes that we can make as they are now, and just go to one completely foreign model of governance. Like, I mean, foreign to Newfoundland and Labrador. Let's just and we won't ask their opinions. We'll just force it on them, and if they don't like it, well, tough. Here's the arbitrary number of regions. We're not really we're gonna figure it out as we go, and that's the big problem with Newfoundland and Labrador's government. I mean, they don't like responsibility, and they don't like to think things through. They don't like to really ask the people, or consider the people's feelings. They have these little sessions that they do, and I've been to them. We've been to them. We've seen what happens during those sessions when they try to talk to people, the engage NL kind of a thing. And nobody shows up because it's either not overly advertised, or they don't do a good enough job explaining what not participating is going to cause. So I mean, and they like that. They don't like high participation because that would kind of make things a bit difficult for the government. They like when there's only like 20 people at one of these events and not 200, because 20 people, they can say, well, listen, there's so much disinterest in this. The government has to step in and do the heavy lifting and make the final decisions, and base it on a few loaded questions, because all these questions are kind of weighted in favor of what the government wants. It's not asking us, how do you want this to be designed? I mean, like, if I was the arbitrary dictator of Newfoundland and Labrador, I would just look at this and be like, okay, so forced regionalization of the province. So I'm going to look at Stephenville, Kippens, Knowles Pond, Coldbrook, and say, listen, you are all within the general area. You're all one community now. You're amalgamated. Stephen Kippens, Pond Brook. That's what you're going to be, or whatever name we decide. Like a coin toss or something, I guess. I don't know. And that's it. Share all the responsibilities, and the federal and provincial governments will provide some money toward and a roadmap towards the standardization of water and waste services. Because the thing about Stephenville is that we have wastewater treatment and just what's their wastewater treatment and water treatment plants. We are fully equipped. Kippens does not. Kippens has a septic system. Same with Brook and Knowles Pond, if I'm not mistaken. So in order for everything to be kind of fair, we'd have to standardize or keep the legislation as it is, but any new developments that are within range of Stephenville's sewage and water systems would have to be standardized with that. But it would be complicated. I got to admit, like I would like to see Kippens and Stephenville just be one town. I mean, it would just make sense. But I also recognize that it's like that standardization is difficult, and as a taxpayer, I would actually have to see the cost analysis of that, because for me that's my biggest issue. My biggest issue is the standardization, and I'll say that, and will the revenue brought in by Kippens really make up for that? I don't know.
So they talk about in this report specifically around water and clean drinking water, and the fact that a lot of municipalities are in violation of the federal
wastewater effluent treatment regulations. Yeah.
Yes, so we have that, but they also talk about wastewater, definitely an issue almost everywhere.
Yes.
Steve Mill not so much, because they spent their money, have paid it off, and now actually receive money back in the form of carbon credits for what they have done.
Yes.
So one of the biggest challenges I always hear when I talk, because I am a proponent of the regional municipality. I don't know if proponent is the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
You're in favor of the idea.
Yes, of the regional municipality of Bay St. George. You and I argue all the time of how abroad it should go and whatnot, but that's besides the point. The biggest argument I always hear from people in Steve Mill when I say, well, Jesus, we need Kippens on board. Well, boy, Jesus, do you know how much it would cost to run a water line to Kippens?
Yep.
Do you know how much this would cost? Well, how in the fuck is a regional government, a regional board, I'm misspeaking, a regional board going to do that any cheaper? Whose water supply are they going to tap into? If Kippen says, fuck it, we can't maintain this, we're going to give it to the regional board. The regional board says, okay, we signed on the dotted line, we own your water supply. Fuck, we can't fix it. Hey, Stephenville, we're tapping into you. At that point, what authority does the town of Stephenville have to say yes or no?
They really don't. They really don't under this framework. They don't. We're going to be outnumbered. We as a municipality will be outnumbered by the surrounding municipalities of whatever this proposal, at least within this, is saying. Because and also let me, a lot of this just doesn't make sense. Like it's all over the place. It's such a confusing document.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. There's things that just don't make sense. And like I said, it all literally comes back to, let's just amend the freaking Municipalities Act of 1999. Let's just redo it. Let's just say, like they talk about joint councils don't have any power. Empower them to make general decisions. LSDs and UIAs, empower them. Give them land use planning abilities. Give them funding towards towards support staff. Give them the ability to tax. That's all they need to do. This isn't about making it easier for you and me and John down the road. This is about making it easier for the provincial government, making them have to give less money. So the provincial government will spend less money, but we as citizens will pay more. That is why I am fundamentally opposed to this this plan as it is. I am like, and like you said, we have argued about regionalization, and we've done it. My God, Lenny, how many years have we been arguing about this?
It's been a while,
man. And I listen. I understand to an extent there is a need for regionalization, and it doesn't have to be in the form of a layer of government, of a new authority. It should be in the form of joint councils with generalized powers. Like that's like the joint councils meet now. Stephenville meets with a joint council. You know, why can't who's to say that the joint council, if they're given powers through changes in legislation, why can't they make economic development plans with the other councils of the region? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. The government is trying to hide or mask the real reasons behind creating this with, these other kind of good intentions peppered throughout it. Right. It's like, oh, well, this is about making sure that you and your family can have better drinking water and safe, sanitation or working sanitation. It's about economic development. You know, it in more areas are going to benefit from this. There won't be any competition. Yes, there will. There's going to be competition. Do you think Stephenville is going to sit back and let, say, I don't know, the Crossing get all the business? No.
Right.
Stephenville is going to be like, listen, if this goes over there, we don't want that. I mean, this is something that we can more adequately take on. And also, Stephenville, if let's just say if there was this whole region, let's just say not just Stephenville and Kippens, but like Port-au-Port, let's just say that. Where do you think most businesses are going to set up? Where do you think the economic opportunities are going to be directed at? They're going to be directed at the largest population center, which will be Stephenville.
So let's just say, in full disclosure, I haven't had time to read through this whole document. So what I'm going to say could be a moot point, and it could be disputed in here as a whole. This is not meant for municipalities who are okay, who are meeting the requirements. Am I right by saying that?
Yes. Generally, yes.
Okay. So let's just say we are surrounded by communities that struggle a little bit more than us to meet the day-to-day requirements of running a municipality. So let's say hypothetically Port-au-Port, Kippen, Stephenville Crossing, St. George's join the regional approach. They keep some form of municipal governance, or they just say, fuck it, we can't do it on our own no more, we're going to dissolve our government, which it says that you can do here by 2/3 majority vote.
Yep.
And your town or ward will be replaced by one person who will be elected to sit on this board. All good.
Yep.
Makes sense. You're getting closer to what I envision regional government being. But let's just say, and this would never happen, but let's just say Port-au-Port East folds. They have one representative. Kippens folds. They get one representative. I think Stephenville would be allowed to have a representative on there as well, whether they're with them or not. Because I'm almost certain they're going to take something from Stephenville just to say they did. Stephenville Crossing folds, they have one rep. St. George's folds, they have one rep. Even if Stephenville's not there, at what point does their statement of we need, where is it, about economic development and how it knows no boundary and all this, and we're all competing against each other, at what point does the regional board not compete against Stephenville for business? At what point does the ward councillor on the regional board for St. George's say, boy, this is a good project, I'm fighting to get it in St. George's?
Yep.
And then Stephenville is left out in the cold and is now competing against the force of a regional government. At what point does that not create the same issue, except it's one municipality versus a regional board structure?
You're right. It's not fair. It's not going to be fair, and they will gang up on us.
Yes. So what will happen is if this happens, now this is a conspiracy. I don't know if this is fact. Full disclosure, like I said, I haven't read this full document. Say what I just said happens. Then their focus will be, well, let's fucking cripple Stephenville. Let's make it so hard for them to operate as a municipality, they have no choice but to vote 2/3 to join us.
Yep.
I'd be happy. Now I got what I wanted. Now I got the regional municipality based St. George. But in the process of getting there, this is going to create so much more pain and so much more agony, when their main focus should be, how do we create the regional municipality of Bay St. George, or the regional municipality, I don't know, in fucking Central somewhere. How do we do that in the most fair and equitable way possible, that the people have decided to do it with our support instead of us throwing it down their throat?
Yep.
Fuck.
Like it, like what, or the other thing too is that if, let's just say, for example, we get the wards, and there's probably, let's just say there's 5 other representatives, and Stephenville gets 1 too. Who's to say that they're not going to suck the service, like use us as kind of a seedbed to fund their other projects? Because we have the lion's share. We have the best finances in the region. We have the best infrastructure. We have, we have the money at the end of the day. We have the best money and probably the best credit. So who's to say that these other areas will not leverage that to benefit themselves? And it will, and if anything kind of goes wrong with it, they don't really get impacted. It's the town of Stephenville who gets impacted. It's us who's out this money that we could have used for infrastructure, that we could have used for attracting, businesses or development. It's us who suffers. Now, like I'm trying not to be protectionist. Okay, like I understand the need for economic development. And you know me, I'm very passionate about economics. I love it. I think it's so important. Well, it is important. It's essential. You cannot have a healthy society without a healthy economy. But the problem is that this system actually, in my opinion, reduces economic viability, because everyone is competing against each other, and they're not competing in a good way, and the animosity, which I mean is here. Let's not pretend that there's not rivalries between these communities. I mean, we're all not just coming in here clean slate, neutral. Everyone's like, cool with everyone. There is rivalries. Stephenville has a rivalry with the Crossing. The Cape has a rivalry with Port-au-Port, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, everyone is kind of mildly antagonistic to each other. So how are we going to be able to focus on economic development when everyone's kind of squabbling for their little piece of the pie? Like, if these areas are not willing to work together now, as it is, what in heaven's name makes you think that a regional municipality is going to make that work any better? It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Like, honestly, I keep coming back to this, Lenny. I'm sorry to all our listeners. Change the legislation. That's all we need to do. You do one thing at a time. You try things. That is the point. I mean, this is an experiment, really, and the government is taking this shit show of a document, and they're going to force it on us. And I tell you this, it's going to be like Muskrat Falls, a complete disaster, because it's all over the place. It's full of platitudes. It's full of them. It's just not, all of this should be natural. Any regionalization should be naturally created. And I said this in the last episode, I'll say it again. It must be natural. These communities must come together of their own accord and not have the provincial government shove it down their throats. But they won't do that because the larger communities are not going to buy into it. The larger community like Stephenville will probably say, you know what? We're not involved. We don't want to get involved in this. It's more of a burden than our taxpayers are willing to take on. We're out. Stephenville was out. Kippens would probably be out, because Kippens, being the second largest municipality in the area, is not going to want to be, like I said, the seat for the region. They're not going to want to do that, and it's going to flop. So the thing is that, like I said, all they have to do, give the LSDs and the UIAs, turn UIAs and LSDs, turn them into that. Don't just, why would you even have a UIA? in this day and age. Why would you have an unincorporated area? It doesn't make sense. LSD it, put a board in, or appoint a board, or something like that. If you can't get people running, just appoint it, and just give them the supports they need to enact certain changes. Taxation and land use planning. That's
Right.
what they need. That's literally it. And if it screws up, if it doesn't work, okay, then we can move on to the next stage. Okay, if this system isn't working, then we can look at a regionalization model, or tell these communities you have X amount of time to negotiate amongst yourselves a regional plan. We're not going to tell you how many regions there has to be. We're not going to tell you how large your region has to be. We're just going to tell you regionalize or incorporate or amalgamate. That's it.
Yes.
We want changes. And I wish the government would just be honest with us. Don't tell us it's for our own good. Tell us that, listen, we want to save money. We don't want to invest so much in your communities. We want more of this tax dollars. We don't want to give this so much of our tax dollars to the municipalities. We want to use it on paying off the freakishly large debt that this province has run up and continues to run up. But the government doesn't say that. The government never says what they actually plan to do with these things. But like I said, it's all legislation. I'm sorry to talk so much, but it's all legislation that can be changed and amended, and it would work.
Yeah, and like there's things they talk about, which it does make sense. So talks about in the last census, 3/4 of municipal councils report only being able to hire one person because legislation says you must have a town clerk. It also talks about how administratively they lack the technical support and the staff. Most provinces and territories, municipal governments have to support a professionally accredited administrative, financial, planning, and engineering staff. This leads to better, more informed, and transparent decision-making by municipal governments. As a councillor speaking on my own accord, of course. I can agree to that fact, that it makes it tougher to make the right decision when you don't have all those necessary people at the table to talk you through the process, and it makes you more nervous. But I don't know how creating a regional board is going to help, because all they're going to do is hire one engineer, one accountant, and one planner, and you'll be forced to do 5 or 6 different things when okay, at the end of the fucking day, what they've done is to say, fuck you. If you're not going to amalgamate and give us what we want, we're going to give you this horse shit.
Yep.
So what they said is, as Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, you're too god-awful fucking stubborn for the provincial government, and nobody wants to go anywhere, and everyone wants to keep everything the same. So what they're saying is, well, fuck you. We're going to get your money, and we're going to make it so fucking complicated and hard for you to survive, you have no choice but to regionalize.
Yep.
There is no doubt in my mind that this will benefit somebody, some municipality, somewhere in Newfoundland and Labrador, and probably the good minority of them. Maybe the good majority of them. But it still needs to be left up to the municipality whether they want to sign on or not. And I don't think this shit is going to allow for it.
No, it's not. It's my way or the highway kind of style. But that's the government. The government of Newfoundland and Labrador does not really like to does not like democratic kind of decisions on in terms of these things. The government of Newfoundland and Labrador expects that the municipalities will just do what they say and fall in the line.
Right.
And it's a very unhealthy way of thinking. It's very undemocratic, despite them talking about this is to improve democracy. We're going to improve democracy by forcing this on you. We could do a referendum vote. Which I think they should lay this out, make the case for it, allow people who are against it to make their case, and have a referendum. You talk about democratic participation. Let's put it into practice.
Right.
Let's ask the people of this province, do you like this idea? But they won't do it, because the moment anyone with any semblance of a brain reads it, they're going to be like, what the hell is this? None of it makes sense.
Two of the groups that were on this joint working force, MNL and the professional administrators group, along with the department, all three of those people offer training. And on page 18 on the bottom, it says a regional approach can also play a significant role in arguing the skills of existing municipal government staff. It could provide career development opportunities to expand skill sets. It could also expand the training opportunities available to municipal staff. Most councils are not currently able to provide the training and professional development opportunities that attract and retain high-performing staff. That is a financial issue. They don't have the money to pay for the training that is fucking provided by the department and the other two groups. So subsidize the fucking people that wrote this document so those municipalities can avail of the training and stop trying to hinder them for the money.
But like I said, it's about the government saving money.
Yes.
That's the whole purpose of this.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope someone from the town of Stephenville listens to this, or the town somewhere else, and calls me and be like, boy, that was the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life, and this is why. And I will do another episode, whether on my own or with Ernest, and apologize for everything I just said and was proven wrong. But for right now, from what I've seen thus far, that is the way it is.
Yep.
And if I'm wrong, I'll do another episode apologizing why I was wrong and why this makes sense.
And that's perfectly reasonable. And we know what we encourage. And if anyone has wants to come on to the podcast and talk about regionalization, if they're either in favor or against it, you know where to find us. You know our email. We're on Facebook, both of us. The show's on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Both of us our DMs are open. So there's no way you can't reach us. So if you want to have a talk about this, for the love of God, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. But the thing is, like I said, at the end of the day, this isn't about benefiting municipalities. This is about benefiting the government. I keep saying that. I'm sorry, but it's true. It should be called lightening the load for the province, not lightening the load for the people. Because this is only to the benefit of the provincial government. I should say the main benefit is the provincial government. Any other benefits are purely minor, and it also kind of distracts the government away from their responsibilities, like economic development. Primarily, this is a provincial thing. Municipalities really, due to, of course, the Municipalities Act of 1999, they're very, very limited in some of the things that we can do. So if the government wants to do some changes, maybe put in the option that a municipality can have a tax-free zone for X amount of time. Like that's an option. There's these kind of economic free zones in different places in the world, where they have certain abilities or certain kind of powers in terms of taxes and incentives and things like that. So if we looked at something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or just give the town the ability to speak with the government and make some changes, or in terms of economic development. But it's the government is just saying, you know what, we're going to make this a region, and then we don't have to be so responsible for attracting businesses to your area. It's up to you from now on. We have done our part. We'll throw this tiny bit of money at you, but the rest of it is going to be paid for through your taxpayers. So have a nice day. We're going to sit back in the corner over there and reap the rewards.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's really it. And like there's so many things in this that don't make sense. Like on page 20, what we were talking about before, it should be noted that residents in municipalities will only pay taxes levied by their individual municipal councils.
Right.
What's the point of having what's the point of having the regional municipality then?
Right. Who pays for the regional governance?
So yes, and that's the thing, is are these local service districts, are these unamalgamated, unincorporated communities, are they the ones who are on the hook for it, while Stephenville and Kiffins kind of just enjoys the rewards of all of this?
Right. So I guess we could move on to, because the last little bit of this gets interesting.
Yes.
And we'll touch on the structure, and then we'll go to these timelines, which I didn't realize was here, to be honest. But we'll touch on this as much as we can. But the structure is important. So it's this local government structure for LSDs and UIAs. Perfect. 100%, absolutely. They need to be governed by someone. They need help. Excellent.
Yes.
Municipalities maintain autonomy and not be directed by regional government, however they participate in regional government. That's where the slippery slope starts. If smaller, struggling municipalities wish to relinquish their autonomy and dissolve into a regional council, they may do so. If an LSD wishes to be accessed for municipal incorporation, fuck me, they haven't in the last 100 years, so why would they now? They may do so. And they can be supported by a chief administrative officer and additional professionals. It has to be a minimum of 5,000, no greater than 50.
Yep. There's some exceptions.
Assessed property tax must be a minimum of 200 million. Probably wouldn't be. Well, yeah, it'd be hard. Jesus, it'll probably be hard to do in Bay St. George.
Well, it would be. I mean, it's almost like that would be a massive effort too, to have to go around and properly assess the property tax.
Yes.
Like that would be a massive task. And I mean, I don't know how many people, especially out in like Port, Point Mall, and that, they really don't want someone kind of like snooping around their property, sizing it up, tax it. I can't see it. I can't see, cousins of mine out in, say, Fox Island River, wanting someone from the government coming in and kind of checking around to see how much tax they're going to end up having to pay. I think that'll be very problematic.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Like the boundaries of 25 regions. What the fuck?
Why is it 25? Why?
I missed that. I was like, wait a second, how the fuck can you get 25? That's 25 provincially. They would be happy with 25 regional governments. Provisional regional boundaries to be drawn based. Oh my Jesus!
Yep.
If the provincial government has to draw the regional boundary, we're going to be part of Quebec at some point.
We'll We'll be part of Humber St. George's.
Yeah, so somehow St. George's Humber will just be the fucking province of Newfoundland at this point.
Scott Reed is the only MHA.
Yeah. And Andrew is the premier, just the two of them.
Yeah.
Representation. You would be elected by regional council, so that's very similar to the Waste Management Board. Number of seats on a regional council should not exceed 15.
Well, they're going to have
a lot of people. Holy shit.
No, but even that, I mean, like 15. I don't, like, every community is probably going to want to rep. And I mean, there's a lot of communities around here. By the way, if there's one other thing there on in terms of size, communities be consulted and given an opportunity to provide feedback on provisional boundaries. Yes, my God. Like, that's not going to go well, and that's why the government, like, if the government hears something they don't like on provisional boundaries, they'll probably just say, you know what, we don't care. This is the way it's going to be, and they're going to slap it on the table.
Residents of municipalities continue to represent their own municipal council. In addition, the Provisional Advisory Committee will ensure that there is municipal representation at the regional level, and provincial advisory committees determine the decision-making criteria that best suits the needs of communities within the region to ensure equitable representation. Holy fuck, that's a mouthful.
Yep.
Listen, 90% of this, I love. I hate the fucking way they're going about it. And that trumps everything.
Oh.
This can be done the exact way you and I have talked about for almost 2 episodes now. You amalgamate the fucking communities that are close to you, put them into one, and you fucking figure it out.
And
do
change.
Not. Yes. You go ahead. I'm not taking that power from you.
Yeah. Change the Municipalities Act. That should be the first thing. Instead of just going straight into, because like literally they're going to implement regionalization without changing the Municipalities Act first completely.
Right.
So, you know, they're literally putting the cart before the horse. And I mean, the other thing here, Lenny, that makes no sense is residents of LSDs and UIAs be represented by the regional council only. So they get a direct, powerful seat on the regional council.
Yes.
Meanwhile, say, for example, like I said, this is because we can only use our own community as an example. Stephenville gets, say, 1 or 2 reps out of 15. And like those 2 reps have to go to the Stephenville council, so they have to go to you and the other 6 people on the Stephenville council for their directions. What do the regional representatives for the LSDs and the US and the UIAs have to be accountable to?
Exactly.
They don't have to go. Are they going to go to thousands of people, or like 1,000 people, knock on every door and say, "Boy, listen, this is the plan here. I need you to be in favor of this. You need to read all this documentation and go over it." Right. No, they're not going to do that. It's going to be one guy or one girl, woman, I should say, making an arbitrary decision, and that will be it. But Stephenville, Kippen, St. George's, Crossing, they're going to be nobbled by this because they have to go back to the council, and the council has to make the decision on that. The council's got to debate it and talk about it, and that's not an easy thing. Right. It's going to bog everything down. And like you're in favor of about 90% of this, I'm in favor of about 10.
I'm in favor of it because this is municipal governance. 90% of it is municipal governments as a whole. But it needs to be a regional approach, not this. This is not a regional approach. This is nothing. This is...
It's trying to appease everyone.
Yes, and I want to be wrong about everything I'm saying. I'm just putting that there. I want to be wrong. I want
Me too.
wholeheartedly to be wrong, but I don't think I am. I would love to have someone from this committee come on and explain all of this shit to us.
Yeah.
I would also love someone from the regional municipality of Buffalo to come on and talk about the strengths and weaknesses of what they did years and years and years ago. So then we can get a full picture of what hard regionalization at the holistic level, what you and I are talking about, looks like. Because they've already done it. And it's funny that the last things that's on page 22, and then it just kind of goes on about timelines, more stuff about how the phases would work. You could almost do a show just on the phases alone. That might be something we have to leave for another time. Maybe there'll be a regional development phase with maybe an expert come on or something, because it's a lot. But here is the crux in the catch-22s of the Regional Service Board. Service delivery and finance. So I want you to keep one key point in mind for our listeners to what Ernest said earlier, which was what, Ernest? About taxes.
I'll let you say it.
Okay. You only pay taxes levied by your municipal government.
Yes.
However, the regional board would have the ability to charge user fees for services in municipalities, mandatory services, and or requested services only.
Yep.
Within municipalities, LSDs, and UIAs.
Yep.
Authority to be determined by mill rate in areas in which impose a property tax. Wait. Am I reading that wrong? Authority to determine the mill rate. Oh my Jesus. Oh, okay, sorry. They can impose a mill rate in the LSDs and the UIAs, not like the town of Steamville or Kippens. That's fine. All properties in the region are assessed by a municipal assessment agency to determine assessment values. That happens now. Residents of municipalities only pay taxes to their local municipal government. Oh, and here is the caveat. The regional council bill municipalities for their share of costs for mandatory regional services, and the provincial government fund the initial start. Well, by Jesus, did we not see that? What? How long we've had Western Regional Waste Management? Long fucking time. That's exactly how that started. The service delivery model, they inherit all capital assets and infrastructure located in LSDs and UIAs. So just fucking take it. They could just go in and take it in LSDs and UIAs. Administer and oversee all intermunicipal agreements within the region. My fuck, if you're just going to inherit the assets and the infrastructure and the LSD and UIA, why the fuck can you already do it?
Yeah.
Why do you need a
board?
Like
I said,
Department of Transportation Works has existed from day one, hasn't it?
Change the act. That's
right.
Literally, literally, I keep saying that. But I mean, that's literally, it makes the most sense. Just change the freaking act first. And then we can talk about all of this. But here's the thing. here's another potential idea, because you're talking about the mill rates for the LSDs and the UIAs. If who's to say that the regional council will not either raise the mill rates to be higher than the municipalities because of the additional costs and challenges of operating rural areas, or they will lower the mill rates.
They'll put a squeeze on the municipalities who do not want to join and only have a seat. So what they'll do is they'll squeeze it. If Stephenville and Kippens is at 8 or 9 mill rate, they will go to 6 or 7.5. They'll squeeze them out because the residents will get pissed off, and they'll make sure the residents of those municipalities know that we charge a lower mill rate, and you have a case here.
Well, no. It's not just that. They could say, you know what? We want to draw people out of the municipalities. We want to spread them out more amongst the region. So we will offer a significantly lower mill rate to the people who are coming from the municipal centers. And you know what? It would make sense to a lot of people. Land is more affordable out there as it is right now. So people can go out and who knows, Lenny? Who knows? They might also offer housing grants. We don't know what's in the powers of this, what the new act is going to look like.
Right, because it hasn't all been identified yet. One thing that has been identified that would almost cripple a municipality, and here it is. This does not just apply to LSDs and UIAs. Provide land use planning, economic development, emergency planning, and bylaw enforcement to all communities within the region. That's when they take the autonomy of municipalities away right there to some extent. So they just said we're not taking any autonomy away from the municipality. But we're going to take your land use planning, your economic development, your emergency planning, and your bylaw services in every community.
But now that says, if you look at it here, actually applies to all residents currently living outside of the boundaries of a municipality.
Not in that part, though.
It is given the what is the little, the two dots. I haven't had enough coffee today to think properly.
That's a semicolon, so it moves to another point.
Okay. Yes, that's what I mean. I'm sorry, everyone. Usually I'm a lot better at this. It's been a long day. The semicolon for me implies that this is referring to the providing, the next step, provide land use planning, economic development, emergency planning, and bylaw enforcement to all communities of the region. The problem is that it's going to cost money, and they're going to levy the fees. And who's going to pay the lion's share of those fees? Well, Stephenville and Kippens. Yep.
Now we have a decision. Do you want to get into the timelines? The timelines are pretty.
Yeah, we got a few more. We got a few more minutes. We can talk about the timelines.
So they talk about a 3-phased approach to the implementation. Phase 1: identify local governance capacity, regional boundaries, and begin legislative drafting changes. So what the fuck? Sorry, folks. I swear a lot on this podcast, and I'm really amped up tonight. Established transition teams will be done by the third quarter of this year, and we haven't even fucking voted on it yet.
Yep.
Complete community sustainability and viability self-assessments by the third quarter of this year. So by September, it'll be done.
Yep.
Establish and confirm regional boundaries will be done Christmas morning. Not necessarily, but Q4 at Christmas. you're going to find out that you're in a boundary and it's going to be Christmas, and that's your Christmas gift. Here's
the best one.
So anyone in Point of Mall, Fox Island River, mainland, you're getting taxes for Christmas. Not really. It might be 2024, but you are getting taxes at some point. Draft and introduce a new regional government legislation.
Without adjusting the Municipalities Act of 1999 first.
Right. Phase 2, regional local governance design. Establish provisional regional advisory committee for each region. That will be done by March of 2023.
Yep.
Provide administrative support to each provisional regional advisory committee, March 2023. Provisional regional advisory committees decide on the representation structure, i.e. number of seats, wards, and decision-making and scope of optional services in the region. Be done by June 2023.
Yep.
Identify elements of integration of regional plan, June 2023. Regional government's implementation. By next Christmas, God damn it, you could be sitting on a regional board. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Next Christmas. Christmas of 2023, boys. Aren't you fucking excited? Oh my, oh my.
Transition of LSDs and UIAs to regional councils of, is that September? No, Christmas. That's Christmas.
That would be by at least Christmas of 2023. Recruitment and selection of regional council.
Yep. Recruitment selection of regional council, chief administrative officers, and additional professional staff. Get your resumes out, everyone. Get your resumes out and ready to go.
That's right. By June of 2024, you could be the proud employee of the regional something or another somewhere in the province.
Yep.
CAO training and phasing out transitional facilitators. Why not just fucking keep them?
Yep. Well, that would be too easy.
Right. That'd be June. Development and integration of regional plan. God damn, these guys are going to be busy. They're going to be elected by Christmas of 2023. And by June of 2024, they need to have a regional plan. Mandatory regional service delivery commerce will be by Christmas of 2024, and then an evaluation. Hope the evaluation says it's all gone to shit and they cancel.
No, they'll say that it worked out perfectly fine. Everything is wonderful. Everything is amazing. This was the greatest idea ever. And every person involved can give themselves a nice, firm pat on the arse.
That's right. Someone is definitely getting a raise.
Oh, yeah. Probably government, not us.
That's right.
The bill.
I'll probably get booted off council once one of them hears this, so it's all good.
In order to get gonna make your day even better, they'll make you the regional representative.
Oh, could you? Oh, yes.
regional administrator killer.
That'll be right.
It. They'll give you get your own little office in like a sea can or something like that. They're gonna make a repurposed sea can. It's gonna be like something at a site, and you get to work in there. And yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like you're all amped up for getting words. It's just one of those Mondays, man.
Yeah.
But so rushed. So rushed.
Yes.
And you've got these people who have to jump into this new job, into this new position. They suddenly, you become a CAO. Everything is great. You're just like, oh, I'm looking forward to new challenges. 5 minutes later, somebody bursts in like something of Rick and Morty and say, hey, CAO, listen, get up. We need you to do the regional plan. Got to get it done. Okay, when's that going to be? Next quarter. Come on. Get up. And they're there, they're drinking coffee. They're drinking more coffee than anyone can ever consume. They're I don't know. They're drinking some Monster energy drinks on top of that. They're taking those 5-hour energy drinks. They're shooting all these like um, things. They're rushing to get this project, this plan done, and it's absolute garbage. And the government will look at it and be like, "This is good enough. Stamp. It's great. There's going to be fires and hell everywhere. People are going to be confused. They're not going to know what's going on, but it's okay because it's the regional municipalities problem now. Government is completely out of this. If we're going to have regional councils, what's the point of having MHAs? Really?
True.
Really, what's the point of having an MHA?
Right.
Because isn't that what's just going to be the head of every one of these boards? Or are we going to like automatically eliminate the House of Assembly? Or are we just going to say like, okay, Tony Wakeham is now the representative for this region's government. He leads the whole thing. He's like some kind of weird mini governor. Like that, because it almost makes the position of an MHA kind of not irrelevant, I should say, but it does kind of reduce their, I guess, standing or authority.
That's right.
I mean, are we going to make the MHA, like I said, like a regional like governor or a lieutenant governor kind of a thing?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And maybe we should get an MHA or two on to see what they think about this thing.
I hope the minister who is Studley?
No, Chris Howell. It's Minister Howell.
She should now meet with every municipality, LSD and UIA in the province.
Yep.
And give this presentation. Put it right where it needs to be. Present it to the people that it's going to affect the most.
Yep. But will they do that though? She probably won't, because that, like, we got to remember something here. For the most part, most ministers don't deeply understand their portfolios. I mean, they're not experts on it. You have exceptions. You have, for example, when Andrew Parsons was Minister of Justice, as a lawyer, he understands the system. When you had Dale Kirby as Minister of Education, that was his field of study. That was his expertise, and he was acquainted with the roles, so there was less need to be over reliant on deputy ministers and assistant deputy ministers. I don't know if Howell is so well accommodated with this. So that means she has to rely much more on the DMs and the ADMs. So maybe instead of having the minister just by themselves, it should be the minister and the deputy minister or the ADM or whoever is spearheading this project has to go around and do that. And they should, and it shouldn't just be, well, we're gonna talk to the council. It should be, we're gonna talk to the residents as well. We need the residents to know what's the benefits and the risks and the costs. Because like I said before, as a taxpayer, I want to know what this is going to be impact me on, right? Because I don't want to pay more taxes, man. I really don't. I don't want to pay more fees. It's hard enough to live in this damn province as it is. Gas is $1.74. It's going to go up again this week, probably. I do not need or want more expense, and the government is not listening to me. They're not. They're saying, here is this random thing that we have cobbled together, because that's all it is. It's a Frankenstein is what this plan is. It's rushed because nobody really looks at these things. The public, like me and you, We like looking at these things, so we look at it and we read it and we formulate ideas. 90% of the people in this province either don't know how to get to it or they don't want to read it. And they don't know what's at stake. They just hear, oh, here's the benefit of this and that. Oh, that sounds like a great thing. Surely it'll work out. It'll work out as well as Sprung Bloody Greenhouse did.
Yes.
So, it says here that this was done with comprised of the deputy minister of the MPA. So, yeah, I wish we could get the deputy minister of MPA on the show. Now, that would be fantastic.
Yes, it would.
Probably won't happen because bureaucrats generally don't like coming on these kinds of programs. They're generally not the people who talk, except for John Abbott. John Abbott would have talked to the press, but now he is a minister.
Right.
So, and by the way, folks, someday we are still going to be releasing the "Don't Blame Me, I Want a John Abbott to Win" T-shirt. It's someday it's going to come. I keep saying that. We're going to kind of touch on this for a second, Lenny. We're also looking at having some merch. We are discussing it. So if you want us to have merch, tell people to watch the show. I gotta say that. I gotta tout the show.
That's right.
Tell your friend. If we get so many downloads, we will get merch, and we will wear the merch on the show. Starting off with the "Don't Blame Me, I Wanted Abbott to Win" T-shirts, because that is a great shirt. But anything else you want to say there, Lennon?
No, I'll let you have a final word, and then I'll sign off, I guess. So you go ahead.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I want to encourage people to do is read this plan.
Yes.
You have to read it. We can sit here and give you our opinions of this plan, but at the end of the day, it's not only us that have to live with it, it's you. It's your friends, it's your family, it's your children, it's your future children, grandchildren, etc. Right. It is them who has to live with this. And as we have said, there's some good ideas here, and there are some bad ideas here.
That is correct.
And we need to have more of a say in this. We need to talk about this more because it is going to be rushed through, because it is a cobbled together plan. It's going to put stress on the limited resources that they are going to get, because it's only a limited staff, and they're going to be asked to essentially create a regional governing structure from scratch and get trained trained into it. And then essentially any experience they have will have to be on the job training, which is a problem. So you need to talk to your MHAs. You need to email the municipal and public affairs. You need to email government, the premier, opposition MHAs, and be like, listen, this needs to be worked on further. This needs to be discussed further. There needs to be, here's the concerns that I, citizen X, have with this, and this, and make the government take it to the House and discuss it further, because this is not a good idea. And like I said, and as I've said in this episode and the episode prior, change the legislation of the Municipalities Act. Let's try some things first. We don't have to put the cart before the horse. We really shouldn't. Let's just let's just amend the Municipalities Act. And if that doesn't work, then you go to the next step. It doesn't have to be just skip everything else and just slap this thing on the wall and say, here it is, live with it. And that's what I got to say.
Well, you're absolutely right. I echo all the sentiments you just said, and I guess I should have started the show this way. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody out there, Newfoundland, Labrador, wherever you're listening across the world. And just remember, this is the report I'll put a copy of it in the show notes. And just remember, Newfoundland Labradors, your province. You have a say in what happens with your government, who you elect, and the type of future you want this place to be.
Yes.
We do have some exciting guests coming up in the near future. We're still working out some dates and some timelines, but we will have someone from a national federation on the show in the very near future to talk about taxation in the state of the province financially, and that is going to be one hell of a doozy show. And that's all I can tell you. I'm not going to tell you who it is, what organization they work with, but buckle up because you're going to be in for a ride on that episode. And it's going to be a lot of fun, something myself and Ernest really looking forward to. But on behalf of In the Trenches podcast, stay safe, Newfoundland, Labrador, hold fast. We're almost out of this whirlwind of COVID-19, and soon we'll be back to normal is all we can hope, and that's what it seems like. So on behalf of In the Trenches podcast, I'll say good night on behalf of myself, Lenny Tiller, and Ernest Snooks, and until next week, Newfoundland, Labrador. Cheers.